So I come down the stairs, and I look, turn the corner, and there's dishes everywhere. It's like, guys, I made breakfast. Anyway, hello everybody, welcome to NameCast. My name is Nathan, and that's just it. It's just me right now. Okay. So normally this is our podcast where we do lots of fun things and stuff like that. It comes out every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There was a technical glitch. We lost the episode that we recorded. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our favorite games from each year from 2000 to 2009, and Kevin and I are doing it separately because schedules are weird, but that's okay. Got to get a couple housekeeping things out of the way. We weren't able to get Rob the artist on for this episode, so that is still coming. We're going to be hopefully trying to get that out next week. We do live in Canada right now, and well, we live in Canada in general, but it's winter right now, and there's a lot of storms, so we're just trying to make travel and everything like that work not too terribly. So I do apologize for that, and thank you so much for being patient. Yeah, there was a winner of this the giveaway we're doing. So yeah, look forward to that. I'll put the video in just probably at the end of this video if that's cool. And we're doing another giveaway this week. We're going to be giving away The Witness by Jonathan Blow, a classic. So yeah, look forward to that. The way you can win it is you just want to put, you don't have to go as intense as we did, but just give us your favorite games from the past 10 years. So, we went through and probably, I don't know about Kev, but I took about 2 hours to go through my list and go through all the years and everything like that, and we had a lot of fun with it. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to kick it off to Kev here so we can start things off and give you his list, his rundown, and everything fun like that, and then I'll catch you guys, and we'll round it out to the end, and then we will have the draw for who won the game Her Story. Okay, guys.
All right, it's Kevin here now, due to the awesome technical difficulties. So, first off, what I've been playing. Still Stardew. I've been a little bit addicted. Been spending entire days just playing Stardew, and it's awesome. Turned my farm into a brewery, which means I'm like living my dream life in a video game world, which like normally I don't go for, but fucking awesome in the case of a Stardew, where I get to be a fucking brewery. It makes me want like a brewing simulator type game. Somebody should make that. That would be awesome. But yeah, like, oh man, it's going so well. I have like 1,500 hops or something. It's just sitting in storage right now. Slowly making kegs, filling them up, making some beer. Just the return on it is insane. I'm into fall now, so I'm growing grapes, which grow very similar to hops, but turn into wine. Take a little longer to brew, but hopefully that can last me all the way until next summer. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. I think the next like biggest thing I'll be going for is a wife, and going for one that should water plants and stuff, which is good because I was taking like taking me until like noontime each day, so it was like 6 hours of the game time, and using more than half my energy just to water all the plants because I'm lazy and don't want to make sprinklers when I need all that copper and iron for my kegs. So yeah, that's what I've been up to in Stardew Valley. So today I have a couple things to talk about. First of all, just for the PC Master Race folks, we don't talk about PCs like hardware much at all. But I'm kind of like sillily, that's the word I'm going for now. A big fan of AMD stuff, from back in the Athlon days, I guess, when they're actually like, they're pretty decent. That was before any of the Core i7s or anything like that existed. They're really good value, that kind of stuff. And I've stuck with AMD for, I don't know, not much of a good reason. I think most of it is because Intel CPUs are just so expensive, and that's not something I'm used to. And generally, like, I've been a student while trying to make those computers, so budget builds have been good, and AMD is pretty decent for doing budget builds. They have really good value on their processors, but they kind of cap out at a point. And graphics cards, I don't know, I've always enjoyed the AMD ones. They tend not to go as high-end as NVIDIA does, But like I said, I haven't had that much money. But now I'm like, I'm a full adult. I have like a career job and adult stuff, which means I could actually save up the money to build a decent gaming rig. Well, more decent than the one I have. The one I have now is actually fairly decent. It's the best AMD processor you can get, the FX 8350, I think. And I have a R9 280 in there. And they're both okay. Basically, it's just under specs for a VR, but I built the computer like 3 years ago, almost at this point. So yeah, considering the age and how much I spent on it, it's pretty decent. But I think I'm ready to like build a really good computer. And I just got into or I just for the first time looked at a site called Massdrop, which does like bulk orders of things, and then you can like, you get a discount rate because a group of people like do a bulk order, and there's no retailer overhead there. It's basically what you save on. So I got a RX 480 for 200-ish American, 210 I think, which normally costs $250 or so. Scale that up Canadian dollars is an even bigger deal. So yeah, that's pretty sweet. It's going to be a little bit before I get that. And honestly, the graphics card is not the pickiest thing that I want to upgrade my computer, but like I'm glad I found a good deal on a 480. It should last me for a little while. We'll see what the new Vega cards are like. Those are going to be the 500 series from AMD. I'm not super sold that they're going to be better for me to upgrade to, but I don't know, maybe the high bandwidth memory stuff that they're doing would be really awesome. But no, what I actually want to get into is the leaks and all that kind of stuff for the Ryzen CPUs. So this is the brand new CPU architecture from AMD. And yeah, it's like built like completely from the ground up. We haven't had that happen since whatever processors AMD put out after the Phenom ones. So it's been like 6 years or something like that. Pretty silly long time. So now we finally have a new architecture, and it's looking super, super promising. AMD was promising to be competing with the Broadwell platform, so that's the i7 6000 series and stuff. And some benchmarks that have leaked in are making that look pretty true. AMD also promised significantly better value, much lower cost than the Intel CPUs. That's looking to be very, very true. So, first of all, I'm going to teach you about how they're kind of like branding their CPU stuff. So, basically, they're planning like 3 families, kind of similar to the i3, i5, and i7 that Intel has. AMD is going to go for the R3, R5, and the R7. So the R3 CPUs aren't going to have the AMD equivalent of hyperthreading. They'll be 4 cores with 4 threads. They should be pretty cheap. I think like the $100 to $150 range is where people are predicting them to be at. There's been a few leaks on like prices from random international sites, so converting around, they're very loose prices, but they're probably actually what we're going to see unless we see a bunch of price gouging like we have with the most latest graphics cards. Next up is the R5s. So the R5s do have the hyperthreading. So this is really good compared to Intel, because on the Intel CPUs, the i7s have hyperthreading, but the i5s don't. So this is like a big advantage already for AMD, that their mid-series card or CPUs are going to have hyperthreading stuff. So the lowest cards for the R5s are 4 cores with 8 threads, or 6 cores with 12 threads. And then after that, we have the R7 series. All the R7s are 8 cores with 16 threads. So that's pretty sweet. Like, AMD didn't want to... Well, basically, the problem with AMD's last generation is that they just put all their money on multi-core performance. Or not even performance, but just having a bunch of cores on a CPU. And they kind of lost performance on the individual core. So what AMD wanted to do now with this new Zen architecture is to keep their ability to scale up cores, but make sure that each core is performing just as well as Intel's cores are performing, which is actually very, very important for PC gaming, because it's lucky if you get one or two, like more than one busy thread on a video game. So per core performance is very important for video game performance. Yeah, it seems like AMD's stepping up to that, which is pretty sweet. So continuing on with the naming structure. So basically they're doing another similar thing. So they're going by the thousands. So each CPU has its own 100 thing. So they're all 1000 series. There are 3 that has 1100 and 1200. Our 5's 1300, 1400, 1500, 1600. Then our 7s are 1700 and 1800s. We don't know if there will be a 1900 one. Possibly if they do like a second revision to get a much higher performance CPU, but we'll see about that. And generally when you step up, the clock steps up or goes into hyper-threading stuff. And the last final kind of modifier that they have is that they have a 1200X, a 1400X, a 1600X, 1700X, and all the 1800s are X versions. So what that XFR is it stands for what that X is it stands for XFR, extended frequency range. So apparently it's like automatic overclocking for the CPU. So it'll be very, very easy for somebody to just pick up one of these CPUs and get some really good performance out of it. Especially like, you know, it's one thing to like put your own cooler on a CPU. That's really not that difficult. A lot of people are much more scared to go into the BIOS and like up the wattages or the voltages and clock speeds. Like they really feel like they can damage, but they could damage their CPU by doing that. So this would be really good for people who want a kind of easy to build computer that will run really well. And hopefully the XFR chips are actually better at overclocking in general. So one thing with CPU chip design is it's very, very inconsistent. Well, not the design so much, but the manufacturing process is you'll end up getting chips that either some of the CPU cores on them don't work at all, or they don't work as effectively or as quickly, just due to very, very minor problems in the CPU itself. So what manufacturers are doing, AMD and Intel both do this, is basically they only actually try and make 1, 2, or 3 different chips at a time, like actually designed differently. And then they'll manufacture a whole bunch and be like, oh, this one has a dead CPU. Let's just throw this into the pile with... So say it was like an 8-core CPU. They'd be like, okay, this one has 1 dead CPU. We're going to throw it into the 6-core piles. Oh, shit, this one has 4 dead CPUs. Okay, we'll throw it in the 4-core piles. So a lot of the times when you are buying like a 4-core CPU, it is actually the same as the 8-core version, just a bunch of those cores are turned off. That might be a bit extreme. Chances are that they're differentiating things. Like the R3s without hyper-threading are probably just completely different. The R5s are probably all the same, so that's 4 or 6 cores. And the R7s is where things get interesting and why I'm relating this to the XFR thing. So basically there's the 1700s that don't have the XFR, and then there's the 1700s and the 1800s are due. So what I'm guessing is if the CPU can't go as fast, then they'll clock it down to 1700 speeds and sell it like that. If the CPU is just a little bit slow, then they'll sell it as a 1700X. If it's running at full speed that they expect it, then it'll be an 1800X. Which is pretty cool. And yeah, hopefully like that means that the different choices you could have for a CPU will be really kind of spread out. It's kind of weird looking at the speeds that are suggested so far. So all of them have like a boost, like a base clock speed and a boost speed for when they're under high load. And it's kind of this weird curve. So the 1800s and 1700s are running on the higher end of 3 gigahertz. And then the R7 1700s and the R5 1600s and 1500s are running low end of 3 gigahertz. And then the even cheaper CPUs are going back up towards the high end, which is pretty interesting. And I'm curious to see if some of those cheaper cards, for example, the R5 1400X, that's 4 cores with hyperthreading that runs at 3.5 gigahertz, boosting up to 3.9 with XFR. Like, that's actually, it's probably going to be pretty cheap. I think the price that they're guessing for it is $199 US, which is super good. And that should compete with all the top-end i5s out there right now, which is pretty, like, that's a really good deal. The only drawback to it compared to the higher ones is less cores, which isn't as important for gaming, and it only has an 8 megabyte L3 cache compared to the 16 megabytes of the higher one. So we'll see if how the benchmarks for it turn out, and hopefully, like, it's a really good value build. Speaking of value and stuff, let's get into the prices a little bit more. So what we're seeing so far is R7 1800X. That's the highest model one, $499. Apparently this one competes with the i7 6900K, I think, which is like a $1,700 CPU. You could spend $1,700 or spend $500 and get a very similar product. I think a lot of people are going to go for the $500 one, which is really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what Intel does in response. I think they're going to have to do some price cutting and some performance boosting on their next cards. Next step down, 1700X is $389. The 1700 is $319. 1600X is $259. 1500 is $229. 1400X at $199. Then the 1300's at $175. Excuse me. Down to the R3 1200X at $149. And the R3 1100 at $129. Yeah, really, really cool. Those prices are freaking astonishing. Like, yeah, that's so good. Basically, you could build a computer with one of these CPUs, a good motherboard with like USB 3.1 and like all that kind of stuff you want on it, and throw in a 1070 and still be under $1,000. That's just absolutely insane. That's a computer that can like play any game, like ultra settings, 60 FPS on a 1080p monitor. Like, yeah, that's super sweet. So I'm hoping that they can kind of do more, or I'm hoping AMD kind of wins out here, and that like more people are using their CPUs, and you know, they gain a bunch of the market share back from Intel, so that Intel has to compete better, and then we'll be back to 2 full competitors instead of Intel, who were kind of just like, oh, we'll just do a little boost, just make it a little better. Like, that's all they've been doing this whole Core i7 generation. And yeah, it's really, really cool. All this info and stuff. Another thing worth noting, if you do have an AMD board or whatever right now, it'll be using AM4, which so far is unreleased. So you will need a new motherboard if you want to get one of these cards. That's good and bad. Plenty good in that, like, PCI 3 is now a thing, USB 3 is now a thing, M.2s are much more popular. Like, I have USB 3.0 on my motherboard, and it was kind of higher end back when I got it. 3.1 didn't even exist back then, so it would be nice to get that stuff. My motherboard doesn't have any M.2s, so I'm excited to get a board with 2 M.2s. For those who don't know, that's like a port for an SSD card to go into, like a really fast SSD card. And yeah, that's really awesome. So I'm very excited for, you know, all the benefits of just a new generation that is actually competitive with Intel. So I think the only other thing to talk about is when does it come out? Nothing for sure yet. Apparently next week, next Tuesday, I think, the 28th, if I'm correct, of February, is when the reviews and stuff gets released. This might be when the products are released. Apparently, AMD is having a conference thing at GDC, and then also having a private press event this week. I actually think it might be the day that this comes out. So yeah, hopefully that's cool. Hopefully that all goes well. I am so excited to hear more solid information instead of leaked information. To be fair, this is very trusty leaked information. The R7, R5, R3 thing was confirmed by AMD, and that is something that actually leaked from the same sources as this, like a long while ago. So yeah, hopefully that turns out really well. All right, so now on to my main topic for today. Is what I wanted to do is I wanted to run through the games that are most important to me between the years of 2000 and 2009. This was like a very kind of formative gaming years for me. This is kind of like late childhood through my teenage years. So it should be, yeah, really, really, really fun to have just a little nostalgia trip back down memory lane and some such. So let's get into it. First, starting with 2000. I think the most influential game for me in the year 2000 is Pokemon Silver and Gold. This is probably one of the first handheld games that I got crazy into. I played Pokemon Red and stuff, and that was super cool. But Gold, like, it just hooked me on a whole other level. And I think a huge reason for that is because after you beat the game, you can go do the old region from the first game, Kanto. And that's just awesome. That was like so cool. I was so hyped to do it again. You get to go fight Red, do all that stuff. Like, yeah, I could get on board with that like really, really easily, and I did. I thought all the new, like the second gen Pokemons were awesome. Really loved them. Always go with the fire starter. You have to. It's best choice. It's correct choice. And yeah, I played a stupid amount of this game. I like just kind of making different Pokemon very strong. So basically, I would just like play through it again. Be like, okay, I'm going to focus on making this Pokemon awesome and beating the entire Elite Four with this one Pokemon. And then I would do that. And it would feel pretty freaking awesome. And yeah, I just played through this game so many times. It's kind of hard to believe, given that, like, I don't know, I don't feel like the Pokemon games, like, just by design, have a really good replay value. But Pokemon Gold and Silver, I just played the crap out of them. Freaking love them. Couple honorable mentions for the year 2000. Pokemon Stadium. Really, really fun N64, just battle. You pick your Pokemon, you battle. It has limited Pokemon and limited moves, I believe. But it really didn't feel like that. It had a good majority. It had most of the ones you wanted. And yeah, just being able to like fight against friends in that way. Super cool. I also want to call out 2000 is when The Sims came out. I was never super into the first Sims, but I will have more to say about the series later on. So, now for 2001. My most influential game for 2001 for me, my own life, was Paper Mario. This game is frickin' sick. I love Paper Mario so much. Like, I don't know, it was cool. Everybody thought the art style at the time was really cool. It was really kind of creative. It's like, okay, they're kind of using the drawbacks of like the low horsepower of the N64. Well, not even relative to the time. It was just, you know, there's only so much you could do with 3D, and they're like, okay, how do we make this 3D stuff look really nice? Like the later Super Nintendo games were looking nice. And what they went for was this very papery style, super cool combat system that kind of based the thing on Super Mario All-Star RPG and Superstar. I don't know, whatever. And yeah, that was really, really awesome. There's so many characters in this game I really like. I think my favorite for sure is the Boo Mansion part. Like that part is just sick ton of fun. Want to call it a couple other games from 2001. First we got Halo Combat Evolved and Roller Coaster Tycoon. Both super awesome games. As you guys probably know, freaking love the Halo series, got super into them, and I freaking love Roller Coaster Tycoon as well. If you haven't played it yet, Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic on the mobile phones is a fantastic pickup. I'd highly recommend it. Alright, on to 2002. This is probably one of the freaking best years for gaming. It competes with 2004, but 2002, I have to give the winner to Warcraft 3. Like, oh my god, this is the game that like got me into RTSs, like really full on. Played Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, kind of as a kid, you know, not able to fully understand it as well. Me and a friend of mine got super into Warcraft 3, and holy crap was it awesome. Like, just the hero system in it, super cool. The combat just felt super weighty. The cinematic, like, animations that Blizzard does, like, oh, they just fit the game so well, and they were so freaking well done. And the freaking story too, with the voice acting, and the so many Easter eggs, and just funny shit like clicking on sheep and just clicking on freaking units to annoy them, and all that super cool stuff. The 4 different races that you could play, all of which play uniquely, like super cool. I loved playing as the orcs. That was always my go-to build. I would just get a whole bunch of troll spear hunters or whatever, and yeah, like, just it was awesome building up this army and destroying towns and yeah, that kind of stuff. Like, it's a game that means a lot to me. I've been thinking of trying to do a proper Let's Play of it. I've been trying to work out how to properly do it. So maybe you guys will see me fully enjoy that campaign someday. It'd be pretty long form, but I don't know. Some people like that stuff. And yeah, Warcraft 3, super awesome. Honorable mentions: Super Mario Sunshine, freaking fantastic game. One of the best things to pick up on the GameCube, which came out in the holiday season, along with Metroid Prime. Holy shit, the launch lineup for the GameCube. Or I guess it wasn't launch lineup, but very early on in the GameCube life. Super Mario Sunshine and Metroid Prime, just so good. They're just so good games. I think Luigi's Mansion is in 2002 as well. I also love the crap out of that game. So yeah, I have to give mentions to all of them. Alright, so on to 2003. My favorite game from 2003 was Wind Waker. Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. It's just, people really trashed on it for having kind of a kiddish art style and the cell shading and all that kind of stuff. I just be called out every time, because I just think it's fucking ridiculous going back and looking at that game and just how well it holds up. Oh my god, it's freaking beautiful. Such a pretty game. And, like, there's so much charm. And I still listen to the soundtrack from that game because it's so beautiful. Like, I just love this game to a big extent. And, you know, it had a few issues. Sailing a boat around can be boring, especially if you're trying to find pieces. But if you're just sailing around looking for treasure, like, oh my god, that's the funnest part of the game to play through. Sure, you have to find a shit ton of pieces, but oh hey, just fucking go around randomly. Don't try and find all the pieces as soon as possible, and you'll have such better time with it. And the game will last longer than any other Zelda game. Not absolutely any other. I'm sure Breath of the Wild probably gonna end up beating it. But, like, it'll last you so long, and, like, it'll be such a sense of adventure. And, like, I hear all these people talking about Legend of Zelda 1 and Breath of the Wild. They're the only open world ones. Wind Waker gave you the opportunity for it, but if you just focus on finding Triforce pieces, then you completely missed that. And, like, it's just a beautiful pocket of sandboxy stuff to do in the middle of a fantastic story. Like, So good, and people hate on it. Silly. Shoutouts to Pokemon Ruby. Also really love this one. Building bases and stuff. Like, yeah, super cool. Mario Kart Double Dash, one of the best Mario Kart games, playing with friends. Like, so many options on how to play. Some super awesome items and characters and tracks. I think it's probably still one of the best sets of tracks for any Mario Kart game, at least at launch. Mario Kart 8 DLC is actually pretty decent. I also want to say I played a shit ton of Soul Calibur 2 in 2003. That was like fighting games for my friends and I. Super awesome. And yeah, good stuff. All right, moving on to 2004. There were some freaking big names in here. Big names. However, I have to go through my game that meant the most to me in that year. I'll talk about a couple other the honorable mentions a little bit after, and you'll see them in the future. But for 2004, the most influential game for me was Burnout 3 Takedown.
Turn the radio up and we'll sing a song to bring it back. Turn the radio up and we'll sing what's up.
The game's so freaking good, and like it's weird. Like it's weird to say it was like my favorite game from 2004, because there's like a shit ton of other good games, but like just there was nothing else at the time that could really play the same. Burnout 1 and 2, I played crap ton of both of them. I think just completely wrapped them. They were super cool. But Burnout 3 just fucking doubled down on all that awesomeness. Like adding that crash mode, the takedowns were so much cooler than they ever were in 1 and 2. Everything looked nicer because it was on kind of newer generation shit. And yeah, I just had so much fun playing this. It was my PS2 experience was Burnout 3 Takedown. It was a freaking beautiful game, one that I would still go back to given the chance. And yeah, such a freaking good game. Next, for the honorable mentions, Halo 2, super awesome game. I didn't play it much at the time, hence it getting below Burnout 3. And my other honorable mention, World of Warcraft. Got its breakout year in 2004. I also did not play it that much at the time. World of Warcraft took a long while to get its feet rolling as well, so I didn't feel like 2004 was the strongest year. So yeah, Burnout 3, my favorite 2004. Moving on to 2005. This year was a little soft, and I feel like 2006 was as well. And we'll talk about it, but I think the game that I played the most from the 2005 era was The Sims 2. Sims 2 was really awesome. It like just expanded on what was in Sims 1 and polished it up a bit. You know, it kept a lot of the fun things, so many different ways to play the game. I just really enjoyed it, and like I realized I kind of enjoyed just building houses the most in that, and that was okay. That was cool. I also got a little bit out of like trying to get your guy down the career track and doing that kind of stuff. It was a little too easy for my liking, but the freaking house building stuff, like I just loved like building and decorating it and stuff, and like seeing how cool of a house I could make, like, you know, how I could do it on a budget. A lot of the times I would just, you know, cheat rosebud, semicolon, exclamation mark, semicolon, exclamation mark over and over again, just to get that money. But I really do think that the best way to play it was to actually make your guy earn the money, and like just it feels really rewarding to build up a house in that way. And yeah, that was super cool. For the honorable mentions, I'm gonna say Guitar Hero started in 2005 with a 6 series. It got burnt out because they did way too many too quickly, and it was kind of a fad that ended. But you know, at the time, just so much fun to play. One of the best party games ever. Also, Shadow of the Colossus came out in 2005. What a pretty game. It's the only Team Eco game I've ever played, but it left a good impression on me, and yeah, I enjoyed it. All right, now on to 2006. Like I said, for 2005, a little bit of a weak year, but I think my favorite game from that year was Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. A lot of people hated on this game. I think it was because of the wolf sections. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was a little bit too angsty and too dark, but I was 14 or 15 at the time, so I was real into that. Well, I wasn't like really into it, but you know, it didn't bother me. It didn't stand out as weird. The game had so much cool stuff. I really liked the dungeons. They were all kind of like central hub and you move out and stuff, whatever, but you know, they were kind of consistent. You know, they felt challenging, but you could still figure out how to get through them. All of them had very unique styles that like didn't feel like they had been done before in a Legend of Zelda game, while still being like, you know, here's your ice level, here's your water level, and all feeling distinct from each other. I think this is probably one of my biggest gaming accomplishments is Twilight Princess 100%. Like, I've gotten everything in that game. That means like hunting down all the Poes and stuff as well. Really hard to find them. Excuse me, you have to get like so many rupees and stuff. Like, it's, yeah, really fun. And the only one honorable mention I have for 2006 is Gears of War. So, for 2007, I'm gonna have to cheat a little bit here and talk about two games, because they both mean a lot for me. I kind of lied a little bit earlier and said 2002, 2004 were really good. 2007 was one of the best fucking years for gaming ever. And like, I don't know, you can look back on it, the Xbox 360, PS3 generation and be like, meh. But holy shit, the games that came out like during that time. First off, I need to talk about Halo 3. I think this one was expected as fuck for anybody who knows me. And yeah, I freaking loved the shit out of Halo 3. I played hundreds, if not like above 1,000 hours of Halo 3, like at a competitive level with a friend group. So we had a consistent team and we played all that time. I've gotten to play against a whole crap ton of pro players. I've actually like talked to them on Skype before. Like, these guys that like their faces were on Dr. Pepper bottles. Watching the tournaments was so much fun. Me and my friends would get together, watch MLG. We always wish we could go to one, but we live so far away and it's so expensive, and we're just high school kids, and how do we afford that? Holy fuck! Like, yeah, it was a big time in my life, and I think it was like the first time that I recognized that like, oh, I could actually just practice enough and get really good at things. I think everything before then, like, I don't know if it's mentality around here. You guys can talk in the comments about this too if you feel up to it. Is there's this mentality around like, you know, natural born skill and stuff. And I feel like I was indoctrinated with that a lot as a kid. But Halo 3 is the game that kind of broke that for me and realized if I practice hard enough, I can get fucking good at something. And I got fucking good at Halo 3. And it was awesome. It was an awesome experience. We competed on game battles. We hung up there with the top 20 teams and stuff. Like, yeah, it was really fun. Just competing and, you know, understanding a game at that level. Halo 3, I think, has a fucking beautiful design to it in the sense of multiplayer competitive design. A lot of people shit on console FPSs because like it's reduced controls because you're using a gamepad instead of a mouse. But the whole game design revolves around that, and it's awesome. The other thing I want to call out is just the art in Halo 3 and the music in Halo 3. Those things just all coalesce together. They're all bright and full. They didn't succumb to the brownness that started in 2007, where everything just went brown and muddy. Halo 3 is a bright, colorful game. Bright, colorful soundtrack, while containing a whole lot of emotional resonance and some pretty decent story too. Only maybe slight complaint about the campaign is a tad short, but I don't know. At that point, like, if you want to marathon all the Halo games, they stop feeling short, and especially if you play them on higher difficulty. So my next most influential game for 2007, because I'm doing two. World of Warcraft Burning Crusade. Oh my god, this is when I got into World of Warcraft. Technically just before this in 2006, but Burning Crusade is when I like was starting to get into higher level stuff. And I played a shit ton of this on my Tauren druid named Monamito. I got into raiding stuff while being quite young. I was 15 at the time. Generally raiding with these 20-year-olds, and yeah, it was it was a really fun, interesting experience. I kind of met some made some online friends. Like, I was never really that close to them. I didn't like add them on Facebook once it started existing, which I think was 2007. Maybe it was 2006, around here anyways. And yeah, so I made these friends that I had in the game. They were like specific to the game, and it kind of like taught me socializing through video games like that is a thing, and it's just becoming a bigger and bigger thing. And I think it's not something that was called out really as well as it should have been at the time. It's just how important social aspects of games were becoming. And I think like World of Warcraft was a really big starting point for that, but a lot of people just saw the incremental stuff and didn't feel like it was a big deal, but I think it really, really was. A couple honorable mentions. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare came out. Super awesome game. Best Call of Duty game ever, because every single one after it's been worse. And Wii Sports was out as well. Super fun party game. Super, super good. Alright, so on to 2008, the penultimate year for this list. My top game was World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King. We got back-to-back World of Warcrafts, folks. This is the one where I got my real-life friends into World of Warcraft. And and my Halo teammates at the time, too. Bam! Look at that double tie into 2007. Yeah, it was really, really fun to play with, like, people you actually know, people in your time zone. Especially being the experienced one in the game, you kind of help them up, and like seeing them get hooked on the game the same way I did, like that was really, really awesome. We all started raiding together. We didn't do it as competitively as I did in Burning Crusade, but we still did some decent raids, and I developed a sort of name on the server as being the Undergeared Death Knight who dealt more DPS than anybody else. And that was really cool, except for rogues, because fuck them. But that was like really, really cool. It's like just have the specialization and be like known for being able to do something that other people couldn't do, like on a server-wide thing. Shortly after Wrath of the Lich King, they kind of killed what servers really mean by just mixing people across servers, and you don't really know names anymore. So it was kind of cool to be part of that. I also want to call out Braid as a super awesome game that came in 2008. I just think of the story, the gameplay mechanics, like all that interesting stuff. It was the start of the indie uprising, which is super cool. Also came out Mario Kart Wii, which was a shit ton of fun, even though it used some Wii controller bullshittery, which I'm not a fan of. And on to 2009. My influential game of 2009, I really, really have to say, it's Minecraft. Of course it existed before 2009. I think I played it a bit before 2009. But this is when it started kicking off. And just everybody got into the game, just like freaking making servers with friends, playing together, building shit, trolling people. Kind of discovering the crafting system to yourself, getting into the redstone, I think that's what it's called. Redstone, like logic circuits and shit like that. It's really, really cool. You can do some really cool stuff with it. And yeah, just playing around in this world that was kind of like brand new. It just hadn't been done before. Felt super awesome. And the main reason I picked it as like my biggest game in 2009 was just because of how it influenced like all the people younger than me, like the children and stuff growing up with Minecraft. Like that'll be a super influential game for them. That'd be like console FPS, like combined into a single game, like that important for how they see video games and what video games should be. Right, they want a world that you can play around in, and I think we'll see more kind of worlds that you play around games in like a decade from now, when those people are like kind of choosing what games will be made and what will be awesome, and like they'll know how it's done because they played Minecraft their way and Minecraft lets you play it its way. And that was awesome. Couple honorable mentions for 2009. Modern Warfare 2 came out, played a shit ton of it. It was really fun. People are really bad at it, so you could just get nukes all over the place. Super fun. Just end a game with a nuke, because that's not winning, but it's winning if you kill all the other guys. I also got to say, Dragon Age Origins came out in 2009. That is a super well done game. It was from a series that everybody, or like, it was just a style game that everybody wanted at the time. They brought it out and really, really succeeded at it. So that was super, super awesome. All right, so that's it from me for today. I kind of went on longer than I meant to, but I fucking love talking about games. I love talking about PC hardware because it's just fun. There's just a lot of cool stuff going on. So yeah, peace out from Kevin.
So now that Kevin's done, I am kicking it in, and we're starting off in the year 2000. It was a mythical, magical time, let me tell you what. And the systems were out there. We had the N64s, the PlayStation 1s, and all that. And so I'm going to do it this way. You probably already figured out, I'm going to play the track from the game that won. And if you want, it's like a metagame for yourself. You can guess the game that won, and then I'm going to do my runners-up, building up to my game of that year. And starting off as my runner-up, we got Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. Now, I remember distinctly getting this game from, there was a local spot where you could rent games from, and it was called the Box Office. And I looked in there, and like, the coolest thing about the N64 games is that they had those nice big box, like cardboard box cases, and it just had a lot of art that you could fit on. The color really popped off of the page, or off the cardboard, I should say. Anyway, I remember looking at it and being like, this game looks so cool. And I rented it, and I'd never played a Kirby game or anything like that. And I didn't even have an N64 at the time. I was staying at my aunt's place. And I was just like, this is insane. There are so many combinations of things that I can do, and it felt limitless. And it's like, it was just so cool. Like, if you combine rock with freezing, you make a refrigerator, and then you can make food for yourself. What the hell? Or you can, I don't know, it just introduced the combining of things, and it blew my mind. I was like, oh, if I eat this guy, the spiky guy or whatever, I can shoot arrows. And if I eat flame guy, I can shoot flames out of me. What if I do both? Oh my god, I shoot flaming arrows. And I don't know, that's just something that blew my mind as a kid, and I thought it was one of the coolest things ever. And then my next one, you may notice a little thing for Insomniac here. I really like that studio, and this was their final effort with Spyro before it got sent off to so many different studios and had terrible things done to it. But we got Spyro Year of the Dragon. Now this game, it's funny because when looking through this game, like with the lens of looking on the past and knowing what they did in the future, you can really see a lot of Ratchet's DNA in this game, especially with your I forget the name of the guy. He was an agent and he was a monkey, and he ran exactly like the way Ratchet runs. He jumps in the same way that Ratchet runs. Like, it's just, I don't know. It seems obvious to me that a lot of that tech they made out of building that extra character was like, holy shit, we should make a third-person action game like this, like a third-person shooter like Ratchet. And I think, I don't know, maybe there's some documentation of it, like Ted and the guys in the studio talking about this, but like, it just seems like so much of the DNA of Ratchet comes out of Spyro Year of the Dragon. And that's really cool to think looking back. And the game itself is a lot of fun. They introduced the new characters, but still Spyro is still a really cool character, and really, I think he's one of the staples in gaming. You know, he's one of the bigger icons for sure. And yeah, just a classic 3D platformer fun. Now my winner, as you've probably guessed by hearing to the raging tunes, is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Now this one, I mean, what? Come on, are you kidding me? I had to get a Pro Skater on here, and this game is just, it's off the hizzy. That's not a thing, but it's a thing. Now it's a thing. So anyway, yeah, Pro Skater 2 is just the jam for me. Love the Pro Skater games in general. The first one was a little jank. Second one was a little jank too. My favorite of them is probably Pro Skater 4, which we will get into in a couple years. But for right now, Pro Skater 2 has to be the kicker, because I remember playing it with my aunt, and it just had some great stages, an awesome soundtrack, and just one of those ones that I just keep coming back to. Now we go into 2001, moving ahead a year, and we got my runner-up, Final Fantasy X. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? We got Titus. Now, some people say Titus. I always said Titus when I was younger. Anyway, so we got Titus and Yuna, and like, I was a nerdy kid. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be totally honest, but like, I don't know, man. I liked the kind of the love story between the two of them. I thought it was really cool, and it was kind of fucked up because ultimately Yuna knew that she was gonna have to sacrifice herself to take care of Sin, which was the big bad guy thing, right? And I'm not really spoiling anything. That's what you get right out of the gate with this. And she was kind of like the chosen one. It's kind of like, actually, playing through Tales of Symphonia, it's kind of a similar storyline in that sense. She's like, I'm the chosen one, and I'm going to have to die to be able to take care of this thing, take on this burden for all the people, kind of like they're the Jesus of the situation. And yeah, that was a lot thrown at me as a kid, and it was one of like the prettiest games I'd ever seen. It was on the PS2, and I was just like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know the system was possible of producing images like that. And I mean, a lot of them were pre-rendered cutscenes and things like that. But I mean, Final Fantasy back in the day was just like, they were the guys who really pushed it forward with bitching cutscenes, and they just, I don't know, it blew my mind. And the Blitzball minigame was kind of fun. I liked the turn-based action combat. I've always liked that kind of style. Until I discovered Kingdom Hearts. I was like, ooh, I like this more, but we'll get into that in the next year. But yeah, that's a big one for me. Now, moving on from that, Grand Theft Auto 3, this was an interesting time because this is really when genres are being defined, and I would say this one just nailed down the 3D open world as to how you do that right, and everyone else has iterated on that formula since. Because I remember when I was quite a bit younger, I was over at like a neighbor's place, and he was playing one of the Grand Theft Auto games. I didn't really know it at the time, but I guess it was one of the Grand Theft Auto games. It was one of the top downs, and I wasn't too intrigued, and I was like, whatever, let's go play like Doom or something, or Duke Nukem, or whatever we were playing. And then my buddy was like, hey man, I got Grand Theft Auto 3. You gotta see this. And I was like, what do you mean I gotta see this? And I went over, and I was just like, whoa, this looks like real life. Like, if you look at it now, it looks like shit. Like, it's just a bunch of polygons on top of each other. But I thought it was so cool. Like, the size and the scale of the world, and how there are buildings, and you can just hop in a car and drive around. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know this was a thing. And then, you get in there and you try and cause as much havoc as you can, and you get the police chasing after you, and it was just one of those experiences of like, it just blew my mind into the stuff you could do. And obviously my parents didn't want me to play it either, so it made it all the more taboo, right? And my winner for this one is Gran Turismo 3. I mean, this was the game I got with my PlayStation 2, and I played so much of it. And just to give you an idea how much I played it, so I played the shit out of this game, put a good 40 hours on this one memory card. I come home, and I've told this story a couple times, and my brother is literally looking at my PlayStation and saying, die, die, die. I come in, and you remember how the PlayStation had like the icons for each game, and they had all the save files had like the character from the game or something cute like that. He was literally clicking the delete button on every single one of those motherfuckers. Just die. And then it has a little explosion animation for it. Die, die, die. I come in, and he's like, oh, Nene, I'm killing all the monsters. I'm like, you son of a bitch. I was mad. I was real mad. But I still got a new memory card and then played the shit another 40 or so hours onto Gran Turismo 3. Kevin said the menu system was bad when we were talking about it on our 100 games of all time, but I think he doesn't know what he's talking about. That guy doesn't know video games. It's crazy. It's crazy, let me tell you what. Now, moving ahead to 2002, we got Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus as my first runner-up. Now, you know me as the PlayStation boy. That's what I represent. That's what I try to represent, and I'm a big fan of representing that. And we got my boys down at Sucker Punch Studios. Now, I was never too hot on the Sly Cooper games, and this is probably one of my least. I don't know. It's the only one that I've actually played through from beginning to end. And I remember I got it on Easter, and it was the only time I ever actually got an Easter like video game. Like, I never really gotten presents for Easter. I think one time I got a skateboard, which I was really bad at. Anyway, I got this, and it surprised the shit out of me. I thought it was a lot of fun. Jesus Christ. Sorry. Anyway, I thought it was a... Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I just almost died. Okay. Anyway, it surprised the shit out of me, and I thought it was a lot of fun how you could just hide in your barrels and kind of a stealth game. And I'd never really played a stealth game before, so I guess Sly Cooper is really my first stealth game, and it was a very linear kind of stealth game in that you had to just go through the paths and figure it out there. And sure, there was some side stuff, but I think that game really opened up when they got into 2 and 3, where they got into the open worlds, kind of like you had a sandbox to play in, and there's so many different ways to approach going through that environment. And that was really cool with me. But this is the first one that set it off, and it's just got a cool style to it, kind of like it came straight out of a comic book, which, I mean, fits into, you know, what they put out on the PS3, which is Infamous, and that's one of my favorites as well. So it's just interesting to see the evolution of these studios and kind of how they continue forward. And moving on from that as to how they move forward, we got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, which is probably my favorite Tony Hawk. And you're like, Nathan, if it's your favorite Tony Hawk, why is it not number 1? Oh, but you're forgetting what came out in 2002, my friends. But I got to talk about it. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 is fucking awesome. It is so good. Like, if they could recreate 4 and just let me play that again, I cannot describe how happy I would be. It has the wall ride on it. It has, you know what, the one thing it doesn't have that I don't like? Now, everyone liked the wall kick in Thug, but where it's at is the sticker slap. I know it's stupid, but it's faster. It gets you right where you need to go. The sticker slap in Thug 2 is just awesome. Now, Thug 2 is really good. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's the tightest of the gameplays from me remembering playing, because it was so fast. You could do so many tricks, and the tricks just got insane and ridiculous, and grinding was so tight, and you go around those corners and everything. But I don't know. It got to the point of lunacy, and I think Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 is like that perfect balance of not being too crazy. I mean, sure, you can do some crazy shit, and there's some dumb missions to do around and things like that. But I don't know. It was a more fun campaign to play through. They kind of switched it up. You go missions to each of the people, and you can just free skate through the area when you're fucking around. So, it was a really fun way to do it. And now moving on to our number 1 of this year of 2002, we got Kingdom Hearts. Come on, can't you tell from the theme song, guys? For real, this game. I even played through this game again in 2016. I got to Maleficent, and I got just my shit pushed in. I could not beat her for the life of me, and I was like, fuck it, I got to give up. But it's still one of my favorites. But I got to play through one of my favorite moments, which is the Peter Pan land in Never Never Land. And I don't know, it's just one of those things, like, it's a story that has always stuck with me. Again, nerdy kid. And it pulled on my heartstrings in a way that I did not expect when I was young. And I don't know, the whole story and story's friendship with everyone, and that's a really special one to me. And I just hope they don't fuck up Kingdom Hearts 3 and that it comes out before I am too old to play games anymore, because I feel like it's going to take forever. So I really hope it comes out soon. So moving on to 2003, we got the classic Simpsons Hit and Run. Oh my gosh, this game, come on. They take a licensed property like The Simpsons, and you think you're going to get a trash game. Well then, wouldn't you know it, you have an awesome Grand Theft Auto clone, essentially is what it is. But it's got its own character to it. It has so many nice nods to the Simpsons universe and that they have built out there, that if you're a fan of the show, it's going to be great for you. Like, there's so many little things of like El Barto and El Homo, and you know what I mean? And just like little nods that you would get. But you don't get just that. You actually get a pretty solid, like, Grand Theft Auto clone. You get a pretty solid game like that, and it does some of its own things, and it has an open world, and it has these different structures, these different missions that you can do in it, and it was a lot of fun. The vehicles were cool. It was zany. It was just what I think that world needed. Now, my next one on here is Ratchet & Clank Going Commando. Now, I didn't put Ratchet & Clank in the 2002 slot because I never liked and still don't like the first Ratchet & Clank. I don't think it's a very good game. But I'm so happy that a lot of people did like it, because then we got the sequels, and as you know, Ratchet is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I still stand by it that the first game is not that good. But what they did to change things up that really got me on board was something so simple. It was introducing an RPG mechanic and allowing you to level up the weapons. Now, it sounds stupid, but it just kept me engaged in being like, okay, I want to use this type of weapon. I want to use the bomb glove, even though I know that the bomb glove isn't the best what I want, but I want to be able to upgrade it. I want to see that number go up. get to the top, and then you get the added benefits of it having different effects on it and everything like that. And it was really cool. And the story of Ratchet and Clank 2 is pretty interesting. It's the one where it involves a megacorp, and so the GrumbleNet's no longer being around, and then you find out that this whole shady underside of everything, and it's a game that really it makes fun of itself. So it's like after the first game, they're interviewing Ratchet and Clank, and they're like, so what have you guys been up to after you defeated Drax from the first game? And they're like, well, life's more domestic now. I did my laundry last week. We went to the opening of that new nightclub the other night. And Clank was like, that was 2 months ago. Yeah, we're pretty bored, to be honest. And then they get brought on this big adventure. But it's just, I don't know. That game has that franchise, rather, has such a good sense of humor about it. And it's always kept dragging me right back in there. So now we got SSX 3. Oh, what? Oh, what? Are you kidding me? This game is fantastic. I mean, as you guys know, because you watch Game Off and you know what's up, we're playing it, and you're going to be able to see it Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to see if I won or if Kevin won. Who knows? But I'll tell you what, I don't know if it was on his list. I didn't even listen to his list, but it's on my list, and I love this game very, very much. Now, I played a bit of SSX 3. It was actually another game that I got when I just got my PS2. My parents rented it for me. And I was kind of into it. I was feeling it a little bit. And then 3 came out, and I was like, whoa. It has like kind of an open world to it where you can cruise your way down the mountain. You can pick different paths. You can... it's just like you could upgrade your character, so it felt like your character, and you could add accessories onto them and buy stats. And maybe if you want, you slide down this side, you can go into a race. Or, you know what, I'm feeling like some R&B, some slope style, some stuff like that. Like, it was, I don't know, you can do your trick attack, you can do your timed modes. But it did it in an organic way where you feel like you're just going down a mountain, and they just drop you off in a helicopter if you want. So they just drop you off in this helicopter. You come down from the top, and you just pick your lines, go down what you want, you make some money, buy some stuff. Super fun game experience, and just I had another one of those games with a great soundtrack. And speaking of games with a great soundtrack, we're coming into 2004, and we got Burnout 3 Takedown. Are you kidding me? Oh my god. Car crashes have never felt so good as they do in this game. So let me set the scene for you. You're coming down, and you're just gunning it down this highway, and cars are coming at you, and you're narrowly missing out of them. And every time you miss one of them, you get a near miss. And the text just pops up at you, and you know that you're getting more and more boost. And then you start to speed up, and you see the person in front of you, so you come at them with all your boost, and you catch them right in the back of their wheel, doing a pit maneuver on them, and they flip. They go flying over top of you, and you get to see them in slow motion as their car tumbles over and over, and you're speeding away, and your boost meter fills up all the way, and you just lay on that fucker and go cruising down this highway right into first place. You take the finish, and you take his wife away. I mean, there's no better fucking racing game. Are you kidding me? That game just like grabs you by the dick and just keeps pulling. I don't know what that means, but like it just gets me so excited. I don't know. Burnout 3 Takedown is just pure fun. Everything about it is pure fun. If you haven't played Burnout 3 Takedown, I don't know how well it's aged. Everyone says that Paradise is better, and Paradise never really got on my radar, but Takedown was fuck. And not to mention, it had the crash mode where you could just cause so much havoc and carnage in this area, where it's just like, hey, you see this busy intersection? I wonder how much damage you could cause in there. Go. And you just go for it and get your damage up as high as you possibly can to see how much property damage you can cause. Sick. Now, something else I got in this year. I got myself an original Xbox. Yeah, I did. And you know what game I got with that Xbox? Because I got the Crystal Edition Xbox. Oh, what? Pretty exclusive. I got myself Fable. And holy shit. I mean, I could do a whole episode just on Fable. It changed everything. It was, I don't know. It was the first really big open world in an epic fantasy setting like that, where I felt like I had agency over whatever path I wanted to have. And ultimately, it's pretty binary in the actual paths you can go down, but it didn't feel like that, and that's really all that matters. It matters as to what it feels like for the player. Not something I realized at the time, but something I've realized now, and I'm like, that's part of the genius of it. I mean, they didn't have the tech to make it this, you get a million different options and go down, you know what I mean? The tech at the time was so limited where you couldn't do something like that. So they had to make it feel like you had options of doing things like that. And maybe it wouldn't fly today because people have caught on to those tricks because everyone else has kind of followed it. But it felt like your path was your own, and you had these goofy little side adventures. Like if you get, I think her name was Lady Grey, and if you get a marriage going with her, and then another woman starts to like you, she'll fucking behead her. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, like it's a goofy thing that only feels like it happens to you. Or there's so many goofy things that you can do in that game, where it has kind of a serious tone, but it just lets you run with it. And I can't even say anything more about it. It's just, I have to cut myself off because I will talk about that game all day if I really start going on it. But I got to give it up to one of my favorite Ratchet games, Up Your Arsenal. This is where they really nailed it down for me, which, you know, Fable is one of my favorite games of all time. But for this year, Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal has to beat it. I can't even count the number of times I've beaten this, and the reason why it's so important in the franchise is it introduces the best villain in the game, and they know it's the best villain in the game, even when they revamped it just last year, the 2016 revamp. You know, who was the bad guy? Dr. Nefarious, because they made the perfect bad guy for that. He's ridiculous. He's this maniacal, over-the-top robot man who, when he gets too worked up, he blows a sprocket and it turns into this romantic fucking soap opera coming out of it. Oh, Janice. Oh, Greg. You know what I mean? It's just, it's ridiculous. But he hates Captain Quark, and he's just, I don't know, he's such an interesting character, and he fits the bad guy stereotype so well. And they use him over and over again because it's like, shit, we made like the perfect bad guy who you love to see Dr. Nefarious on screen because you know it's going to be funny and you know he's going to be all over the top and everything. And it's just, and the action in this game was awesome, which, you know what, maybe that's part of the problem because they're like, whoa, the action in these games is getting dope. Let's make Deadlock. That was a fucking terrible decision because you don't get the same story aspects that you get from a traditional Ratchet & Clank game like Up Your Arsenal. But you know what I mean? They have to transition. They have to try different things. And I think Deadlock was definitely a misstep. And it took them quite a few years to get back on the right track where they started to in 2008, 2009. With Future Tools and things like that. But it took a while for them to get back on track. But I mean, Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal was, I thought, going to be the highest point in the series. Because when I played it, I was like, I don't think they can top this. This is just so good. Eventually, they do top it. They do top it. But moving on, we got 2005, and I'm going to say it. For me, this was a shit year, and I almost contemplated not picking a favorite and just picking 3 runners-up. But I can't do that to you guys. I'm not going to do that to you guys. So my number 1 runner-up is Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves. Now, the reason why I can't put this higher is because I never even beat it, and I only played really a couple missions, but it has, for me, it also has so much of Sly 2's DNA in it that it's just, it kind of falls in the same category, and it's so melded in my brain that I don't know where Sly 2 ends and Sly 3 begins. So, but a really fun game, really had the open world environment, and yeah, I mean, it led on to Infamous, so that's the best thing I can say about it. And then we have a game that I think was good concept, didn't quite nail it all down, but it took the world by storm initially, and that's Guitar Hero, the original Guitar Hero. It got me into some heavier rock that I didn't even know existed at the time, like Bark at the Moon, or some Black Sabbath and some of those songs, and I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. I mean, they were all covers and everything like that, but that may get fixed with one of my favorite games a couple years on, but it was a great start, and it's what I think it needed to start off. And then my pick of this time around was God of War, because God of War. I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? Get the fuck out of here. Of course it has to be God of War. Yeah, no, just a super fun game. Really nails down that action kind of stuff. It took what I like from the Prince of Persia games and just amped them up to 11 because Warrior Within was my jam, and I contemplated putting it on this list, but I wasn't able to fit it in the year it came out. I forget what year that was, but it was a stacked year for me. Anyway, I think it was 2002, and that's a stacked year in my list here. But yeah, it took that Warrior Within kind of like edgy and let's go over the fucking top with the gore and amped it up to 11, man. Kratos is like, I wouldn't say he's a good character, but he is the perfect character for a teenage boy that just wants to and that's what I was at the time. So I think it was the perfect character that I needed at the time. So moving ahead to 2006, which is a much better year for me, we got my number one runner-up, which is Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, the only Zelda game I have beaten, and it was great. I really liked it. It was probably my favorite game on the Wii. Yeah, I had it on the Wii. Had a lot of fun with it. Played the fishing minigame way too much. I think I played probably about as much of the fishing minigame as I played of the actual game. It just hooked me in with that. And I don't know, I had so much fun doing the dungeons. And the combat was, it was okay. It was pretty entertaining. And there were so many collectibles, so many things you could buy. It was a big Zelda game, and it was my first time really experiencing something like that. Unfortunately, I was experiencing it on the Wii, but still a really fun game that has stuck with me quite a bit. Now, my other one here, I got in on this late, but it did come out in 2006, and that is The Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Now, I gotta say, I played it on the 360, and I didn't even know that you could install games at that time. So, literally every time you go into an area, you just get shook. The game runs like oatmeal for a second, and it's loading area. And like some areas, it was so bad, and maybe they just got so ambitious with it, where literally it would load area while you were moving from one part of the town to the other part of the town. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? And some of the missions would require you to run back through the town. So it's like, well, how did this happen? How did you let this happen? I don't know. But as far as it being a good game, it is a good game. It's really fun. It has some great missions. I love the Dark Brotherhood mission where you have to do like a game of Clue, and you have to, get them convinced as to, oh, this person killed them. No, this person killed them. But really, you're running around killing everyone. And it's got some great missions in it, and it's a really fun game. But my winner has to be Kingdom Hearts 2. Now, talk about a game where they take the first one, and they're like, let's just make the combat so much better. So they do. And then they make the story way crazier and way more confusing. But I don't know. It takes everything I liked about the first game and just cranks it up. And it's just what I needed at the time. I don't think I like it as much as I like 1, but I like it a lot. A lot. Really good. Now, moving on from that in 2007, we got a franchise that really means a lot to me, and that's Mass Effect. Holy shit, Mass Effect. Are you kidding me? This game is unreal. So yeah, we got it coming out the gate here. Coming out strong. Mass Effect. And the thing I like about it is you could explore different planets, and you could just go around in your Mako and just find shit. And that was cool. You could find it, and it felt like you were carving out your own adventure. You were making your name in this universe because they introduced the Spectres. And, the Spectres are, they're like ambassadors for their type of race. And, sorry, I'm trying to type, and I'm, oh, God. There we are. Sorry. Okay, so anyway. So, yeah, they're ambassadors for their area, or their whatever. Oh, God. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm trying to type something because I realized there was an error in my 2009, and I'm trying to talk at the same time, and it's not working very well. So I'm just going to fix it right now. Sorry. Okay, there we are. And then I just got to do the... thanks for putting up with me. I know I'm the worst. Okay. There we are. Perfect. So anyway, so we got Mass Effect, and it's... I mean, it's like Star Trek, but awesome. Not a big Star Trek fan, which is surprising that I like Mass Effect, but I mean, I guess it puts you in the action, which is the best part about it. But moving on, we got Ratchet & Clank, Future Tools of Destruction, and they started to bring it back. They really started to bring it back. I didn't like this game that much. I think a lot of it was there. It just didn't have the style to really pull everything back. But they get there. Oh, they get there. But the winner has to be, as you can tell from the bitching soundtrack that's been bleeding into your ear holes and causing you to have massive orgasms. Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. I mean, are you kidding me with this? They finally got the bands to actually play their songs. No covers, none of that bullshit. The legit tunes, and it had a sick soundtrack. And then, like, I mean, I've had a lot of good end credits moments, but when you beat the story mode of that game, and then you start playing through the fire and fucking flames through the credits, are you shitting me? Are you shitting me right now? Playing those epic solos with that, I mean, that song, shit on it if you want. It's epic as fuck. And you're going through and you're singing along as the credits are rolling down and you're playing like the hardest thing you've ever played. Oh, come on. Come on, you're telling me you didn't have a big raging boner after change your pants after that shit? You're a fucking liar if you didn't. A fucking liar. Anyway, moving on to 2008, we got Burnout Paradise. Now, I talked about this one a little bit earlier. It didn't hit for me in the same way that it hit for a lot of other people, maybe because I'm not a big multiplayer gamer guy, but it was an open world Burnout, which is really cool. I think really cool to bring that to the plate. 2008 is another year for me that just, it wasn't too strong. For me, at least. I didn't find anything in there that I was like, wow, this really was big for me. But Burnout Paradise was pretty good. Another one, my favorite Banjo game. Yes, a lot of people will hate me for this. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. And I don't just say it to be a contrarian or to try and be edgy and have a different viewpoint. It's the Banjo game. I never really played the Banjo games when I was younger. In this one, I was like, this is a lot of fun. You get to make a car. You get to make the type of tool that you need to complete a specific challenge. And that was cool for me. I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, maybe a part of the misstep was calling it a Banjo game because it set up an expectation for people to have this 3D collectathon platformer where you play a Banjo game. And this wasn't a Banjo game. But I was fine with it. I knew the character. I was familiar with the character. And I knew that it wasn't going to be like what the other ones were. But even if it was, I didn't really have much of a frame of reference for what those games were. So then when I go back and play them, when we do a Let's Play with Kevin on Nostalgia Trip, it didn't have the same thing for me that it has for him. So it never really hit for me. But my winner of this year has to be, because I sunk the most time into it out of those games, SingStar. I mean, if I can count the amount of hours I put into SingStar, I would have to count for a long time. It's I played that game so much. I mean, it's basically karaoke where you get scores, so you can definitively say, no, I did a better job than you, and that's awesome. So you just have battles against each other, and you just sing songs like a fool. It's great. It's the perfect party game because you don't get the thing of Rock Band where someone can just hide on the drums. You know what I mean? And it doesn't do the thing in Rock Band where it puts your voice way too loud or any of that shit. You can just get buried in there and you can whisper into that fucking microphone if you want. And no one gives a shit because it's just the track is going, you're playing the music loud, everyone's laughing, having a good time. You know, someone could be doing goofy ass dance moves and still kicking your ass. Like it's just fun, and I find it's a great game for bringing shy people out of their shells because you don't get the Rock Band thing of them being able to hide on another instrument and, you know, one singer going. No, you're both singing, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you get past the mic, you got to give it all you got. So it was perfect for that. It was, I don't know, in my mind, it's like the perfect party game. It's great. So then moving on from that, we got 2009, which is a great year. Great year. We got Infamous, produced by Sucker Punch Studios. Now, this is the first Infamous game, and like I was talking about with the comic book style of Sly Cooper, it takes that and runs with it, and it's like, yeah, let's do a superhero game. And they nailed it with the superhero game. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and you got Cole McGrath, who's a bike messenger who gets super awesome electric powers. I'm in. Sign me up. That's all you need, right? Like, it's and the electric powers thing was cool because you get the amp that you get to use. I think he used an amp in the first one where you can smack people around, do some melee attacks, but you can also kind of treat it like a shooter where you can just lob electricity at them. And you can do it from a distance. And electricity is just such a cool power because it's like, oh yeah, everything kind of does rely on electricity, because if you're running low on juice, you go suck the power of some headlights of a car. It's like, yeah, or street lamps or generators, or, you know what I mean? There's going to be electrical things everywhere, and it's something you can relate to be like, of course I'd be able to sap power from this. It just makes sense to you. And just running around that big world was cool. Traversal was a lot of fun. It was, I don't know, running around in that game was fun, and it was just a really good time. Now going from that, we got Borderlands. This is, I think, the only shooter on this list. And not many shooters ever hook my attention, but this one did. And I think the main reason why is because it didn't have competitive multiplayer aspects to it, really. You and your friends could get together and do split-screen co-op if you wanted, and just blast through the story mode, and that was so much fun. And it was the constant loot grind of being able to get bigger and better weapons, and you open up that chest and you find the weapon that's perfect for you, and you're just like, this is exactly what I was looking for. And you know what I mean? And you get that moment so often throughout it. Like, you can get that moment every fucking hour or every 30 minutes, you know what I mean? And it keeps you in there, and it keeps its hooks in you and keeps you coming back and playing more of it. And it had a great humor about it, and just a great art style in general. And really, it took me by surprise, and I was like, I won't like this game. And I played it, and I liked the fuck out of it. And then, don't even get me started on the sequel. Wow. But yeah, it really got me. And then the thing I had to change my list around for, because I forgot it came out this year, a motherfucking Crack in Time. Oh my god, the best Ratchet game to ever come out. And I'm saying it right now. Ratchet & Clank: A Crack in Time is the best Ratchet game. It is so good, because it does everything that I wanted. It has such a cool style to it. It really starts to dive deep into the backstory of Ratchet and the Lombaxes, because what the fuck happened to the Lombaxes? You know, it's something that they flirt with a little bit in Future Tools of Destruction, where you got the oh my god, why can't I remember the name of it? The Dimensionator, sorry. And you stick it on your head, and you know, he's trying to get the Cragmites, and he's trying to find them, and then you get your Dimensionator for the Lombaxes, and you get to see a little glimpse of that. Is like, oh shit, you know, Ratchet does feel out of place here. He's one of the only ones of his kind. And then you meet Azimuth Azuma, or whatever his name is, I can't pronounce it. But anyway, you meet him, and you're like, whoa, there's another Lombax around. He's the only other Lombax around, and he knew your dad. And it gets into this whole backstory of Ratchet, and how Ratchet is, I mean, he's interested in something like that, but ultimately he's accepted that this is his life now. You know what I mean? And he's accepted that these are his friends. This is kind of where he belongs. Like, you know, is he better off being with his people, or what he's known all along? You know, he doesn't want to turn his back on anyone. And ultimately, the effects of, well, originally in the first game, I should say not the first game, Tools of Destruction, the Dimensionator, you know, he doesn't know what that'll cause in the universe. And then using the clock for his own personal gain kind of goes against what you're designed to do. And then, not even to mention the fact that it brings so much more purpose to Clank as a character, and a reason as to why he is interesting. Because he could have just been another robot, like all the other robots that were coming off on that factory line in the first Ratchet & Clank game. You know what I mean? He could have just been one of those other soulless things, but there was something special about him. And that's what we get explained to us, that he is something special. He was created through the Great Clock, and that he has a little special piece of him, and that he has a big impact in this world. And that's, you know what I mean? And like, I realize how nerdy I'm sounding, but I hope it just displays how much I really love these games and how much they mean to me. I don't know. I can't think of a franchise that means more to me than the Ratchet & Clank franchise. It's just, I'm gonna end this on my favorite cutscene from this game, because I can't think of a better way to end this episode. And then it'll go into the who win the game and everything like that. But this is my favorite cutscene. I really hope you guys enjoy this. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Take care of yourself, pal.
The clock, much like time itself, is a gift.
I cannot stay. I am sorry, but discovering my family has made me realize that I cannot leave Ratchet. Not until he finds his own. I hope you understand.
You're leaving? Energy output normal. Harmonic stabilizers stable. Why aren't I freaking out?
Perhaps you are ready to be promoted.
Senior caretaker? Yay! Thank you, sir.
Take care, Sigmund.
The clock, much like time itself, is a gift, and not to be tampered with. But like any father, my only wish is that my son does that which makes him feel whole. You are an intelligent and logical being, Clank. But intelligence and logic would have been wasted gifts without honor and loyalty. I am proud to see you came into those on your own. So, should the clock be too small for your plans, I pray the cosmos light the way towards a future you yourself design. And remember, the universe has a wonderful sense of humor. The trick is learning how to take a joke.
We had 2 people entering in, so we're going to flip a toonie, Canadian classic.
Yeah.
And, let's go for it. So we're going to be doing a giveaway this week, and we are giving away her story. Now, Kevin, are we going to go refugee as the polar bear, I think? And then
Sure.
Ryan as the queen, the queen of the Englands?
Yes, Queen Elizabeth II.
So now, I'm not very good at flipping coins. Are you a good coin flipper?
I'm okay.
Okay, go for it.
All right. I think we're gonna have to set the mic down because.
Oh, shit, this is getting real. Okay.
Do we want to do like the hand thing and the?
Okay, yeah, the big reveal. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
it. I like it. Okay.
All right.
Are you on the edge of your seat? You better be, because I'm on the edge of mine right now. On this poorly framed, poorly lit seat. Okay, are you ready for the flip? We got tails is refugee and heads is Ryan. Now, we're gonna do a magic trick, boys and girls. Are you ready for this? What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? It's coming up.
Polar bear.
Polar bear. So that's the winner is refugee. Check your inbox, and we have sent you a code for the game.
Yes.
Your story on the Steams.